I'm running for governor because I've had enough. I have had enough of the bickering and the name-calling. I've had enough of the partisanship and the polarization. I've had enough of the cronyism and the backroom deals. And I've had enough, certainly, of all the ethical improprieties and the investigation after investigation after investigation. Kentucky's had enough, and you know what? Kentucky deserves better. Kentucky really does deserve better. I've been talking about a lot of issues, and today the issue I'm talking about illustrates the problem to a T, not just here in Kentucky, but across the country. And that problem was really symbolized by what we learned about happening at Walter Reed Hospital in the past couple weeks. Our veterans are our true American heroes, and I know we've got several veterans here in the audience, and the fact is that I've got a whole book I've written about the principle to love your neighbor as yourself, being the unifying principle of all people, whatever religion you are, whatever party you're from. Well, it's our veterans and our military, active military, who give us the greatest love of all. They are the ones that show the greatest love of their neighbor by being willing to risk their lives, some being willing to make the ultimate sacrifice in order to serve their neighbor, because they love their neighbors that much. But unfortunately, despite all of these politicians, the politics as usual, who will say attaboy and pat him on the back and salute him and send him off with a big smile off to halfway around the world, when they come back and they take off their uniform, they are being given the cold shoulder way too often. We've seen what happened at Walter Reed, but it's just a symbol of what's happening all over the country. Just a couple years ago, Congress underfunded our veterans' health care benefits by $1 billion. That's not million, that's $1 billion, and that's why we have these problems. And they're not just in Washington. Right here in Kentucky, in our state-run facilities, we're having real shortages of nurses, shortages of health care services, and as a result, these men and some women are really suffering. These men and women who are the ones that we should be giving the most attention to, the ones that are true heroes, the ones that are providing the moral leadership for our country, and we're denying them the services that we promised them and the services that they certainly deserve. And so today, Irv and I were at the War Memorial site in Louisville, where we announced what we want to do as leaders when we get into a Miller Mays administration. Number one, we're going to take care of this nurse shortage that's going on across our state-run hospitals. We're going to pay nurses at our veterans hospitals the equivalent rate that they're paid in the private sector. Again, it's only right, and we need to make sure that we have proper coverage at all of our state facilities. Second, George Bush, if there's one thing he's done that's decent recently, is he's named a bipartisan commission to take a look at what's going on at the VA hospitals all across the country. I'm urging Ernie Fletcher today to appoint a bipartisan commission to do the same thing for state hospitals. And if he doesn't do that, then I'm going to do it myself when I'm elected governor. And someone I'd love to see chair that commission, to just show you how I want to reach out to other Democrats, including my political opponents. I think that Heather French Henry would be an outstanding chair of such a commission, and if I'm elected governor, I'd like to get her involved in that kind of work, because there's no greater advocate for veterans affairs. Third, we're going to continue the work that we started a couple years ago. Many of you are familiar with the Military Family Bill of Rights. We're very proud that several of the legislative initiatives that we proposed to help our military families get the financial security they need as they provide for our nation's security, several of them passed the legislature, including setting up a Military Families Assistance Fund. But there are several things that we'd like to continue to do, one of which is to allow people to check off on their taxes an amount to go into that fund so that we can continue to help those families that need it. And I also believe very strongly that all of our active military should be exempted from the state income tax. That's not only the right thing to do, they don't make that much, they should be able to put as much of that in their pockets, but it's also good for the state, because down in Christian County, what they're finding is that 75%, 80% of the troops at Fort Campbell live over in Tennessee because there's no state income tax. If we eliminated the state income tax for active military, then we'd see more of those troops living on the Kentucky side, spending money on the Kentucky side, paying property taxes on the Kentucky side, and as a result, this kind of tax refund would in fact grow our economy. So it makes good economic sense as well as being the right thing to do. But that's just one example of the kind of innovative ideas that Irv Mays and I want to bring to Kentucky. We'd like to see Western Kentucky become the clean energy capital of the world, using our bounty from the agricultural products that we're so well known for, as well as the wind and the water and the sun and clean coal, and make us the clean energy capital of the world. Wouldn't it be exciting that instead of the oil fields of Saudi Arabia, that the center of the energy universe could be the farmlands of Western Kentucky? And that's not just some dream, that's not just some imaginary vision. That's happening right now. Right now we have ethanol plants. Right now we have biodiesel plants. But they're being done in a way that is not coherent, in a way that's not consistent. And only if we have a coherent strategy and energy policy can we truly take the leadership role into the 21st century. And lastly, let me talk to you about health care, because it's not just veterans health care, but it's all of us. I am a big believer that we have to do a lot more as a state to ensure that we all get the health care that we need and deserve. I think that it is a moral outrage that 500,000 of our Kentucky families are uninsured, and it's even worse of a moral outrage that there are 100,000 Kentucky children that lack health insurance. Can you imagine that? 100,000 kids that can't go to the doctor if they get sick. What happens is they do get sick, they go to the emergency room, they can't pay for it, our premiums go up, our health care costs go up, and as a result everybody pays. That's why I called for last week that within the first term of office we're going to have universal health care insurance here in Kentucky. I've got laid out a long policy doing that. Part of it would be making sure that our seniors have access to affordable drugs if we have to buy them wholesale from Canada or Ireland or Great Britain. Part of it is expanding our K-CHIP program, which includes insuring our kids. But this is the type of program that we desperately need, not simply to help people, but to make sure our economy grows, because it's not just poor folks who are suffering, it's small businesses who are having to pay these extraordinarily high insurance premiums that are also suffering as a result. So I believe, again, that not only is it the right thing to do, it's for the people of Kentucky, it's the right thing to do for our economy as well. And so you'll be seeing a lot of different policy initiatives. Ironically, the day I introduced that initiative on Monday last week, I woke up that morning with the stomach flu. So here I'm supposed to talk about healthcare policy and I'm sick in bed. And I'm about to go out to the press conference and my wife Lisa says, no, you're not getting out of bed, you're staying in bed. So we did a press conference by telephone. And I got all the reporters, and I was sitting in bed. I said, before we start, I want you to know we're making history tonight. Today is the first time that anyone has held a press conference in bed since John Lennon and Yoko Ono did it in 1970. And I am old enough to remember that. But we're going to bring a sense of humor, but we're also going to bring a fresh, new approach. What is so wrong about this state is we've been stuck in the last decade with the politics of usual. Whether it's Democrats or Republicans, we've got to bring a new generation of leaders, a fresh approach, and that's what Irv Mays and I plan to do. And I'm so excited to see so many of you out here. Hardin County is not only the center of the state, but is the center to our political calculations. We believe very strongly that we can win this in the primary, and with your help, winning Hardin County by a good margin is going to help us win statewide on May 22nd. So let me stop there and see if you all have any questions. There's only one topic that's off limits. Irv and I have one problem, one issue that we have a strong disagreement on. He's a U of L fan and I'm a UK fan.